Hey kiddos, thanks so much for joining me for episode 10 of Chronicles in Collecting, where we're going to check out the MSZ010 Double Z Gundam, as well as do a little bit of a primer of Mobile Suit ZZ Gundam, where this is from. So hopefully you've watched my other Gundam primers. We did the original Mobile Suit Gundam, we did Stardust Memory and Zeta Gundam. If not, maybe I'll try to at least kind of show you where we are, but I'm not going to repeat where we're going. And I'm going to avoid spoiling Zeta and Double Z Gundam because I feel like there's still a lot of people who haven't seen those shows. So Mobile Suit Double Z Gundam is a 47 episode show. It premiered in 1986 in Japan and ran from March of 86 to March of 87. It picks up almost exactly where Zeta ends. And actually, I believe that it just started airing the next week, right? So there was the 50 episodes of Zeta, and then it went right into Double Z Gundam. But there's never been a Gundam that has more than 50 episodes, so they gave it a new name. Though tonally, the show is really completely different. And I would call it a show because the title, the opening theme of Mobile Suit Double Z Gundam is Anime Janai, which means not an anime. So clearly the creators did not intend it to be an anime, even though it was animated in Japan and aired there. So Zeta Gundam, sort of very generally, I mean, this is episode 1 basic stuff of Zeta Gundam, is sort of like a civil war in the Earth Federation with the Titans on one side and the anti-Earth Union group and Karaba on the other side. So Double Z Gundam kind of takes place after Zeta ends, where they kind of have their big battle, and there is a winner who I won't reveal. But there's kind of also a third party that's kind of floating around in the background of Zeta Gundam, which is the Zeon remnants. We know some of them from 0083 Stardust Memory and from some other shows as well. So the Neo Zeon, which they're being called at this point, they were at one point called Axis Zeon, and then they kind of renamed themselves, or that's what they're called. They kind of take advantage of the aftermath of the Civil War to sort of make their move, and now we're kind of back to Zeons being the bad guys and the Earth Federation being the good guys. Tonally, the show is completely different. It's a lot more kind of cheery and upbeat. Zeta Gundam is considered to be maybe more one of the darker, more mature entries in the series. I guess kind of the story is that Tomino was very depressed when he was making Zeta Gundam, but maybe that story doesn't quite line up if Double Z started the week after. Anyway, and because of that, I think that it's maybe gets somewhat of a bad rap. Zeta was this very serious, very popular Gundam, and the first probably third of Double Z Gundam is almost kind of Scooby-Doo level plot. Basically a bunch of kids probably 13, 14-year-olds. They're these junkyard scrapper kids on this colony, and they get a hold of some of the Gundams, and they and they're getting chased around and this, that, and the other thing, and it's kind of goofy and it's kind of childish, and I think sort of the upbeat opening and the character designs kind of try to portray that. The show does get a lot more serious as it progresses. I actually think it's a really good show. Like I said, you kind of got to maybe power through the first 10, 15 episodes, which is a lot. I mean, that's a third of the show, but I think it does pay off. On top of that, it's actually pretty important towards the entire sort of Universal Century story. Maybe not super important for understanding Char's counterattack, but I would say it's very important for Gundam Unicorn. I did not watch Double Z Gundam until after I watched Unicorn, and a lot of things I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. Oh, I get it. That's what this character is referencing. That's who this character is. That's where this mobile suit came from. That's what it developed from. It clarifies things a lot. Unfortunately, I think this is another one of those shows that's not streaming at the moment, so I think you'd have to, pick up the Blu-rays or obtain it through some other means. But I would definitely recommend watching it, especially if you're going to kind of want to check out Unicorn. I think this is, I would almost say it's required viewing to really get an understanding of Unicorn, though you can watch Unicorn and still enjoy it, at a number of other levels without seeing this. Anyway, with all that being said, so this is obviously the title Gundam, of the show. It's piloted by the main character. kind of go into a few details of the figure. So this is from the Ka signature line of the robot spirits. The Mark II Gundam that we opened up a few weeks ago was also from the Ka signature line. Basically it's just, I always mispronounce his name, Katoki Hajime, kind of one of the most famous Gundam designers, and he sort of puts his finishing touches on these Gundams, and it's just it's a line that's maybe on par with Metal Robot Spirits. Like, it doesn't have obviously all the die cast and as expensive materials, but it has all these you could tell that it's nicer than a regular Robot Spirits, both in the materials used and just the level of detail, the level of polish, and even you hold it in your hand and you're like, oh, this feels a lot more premium. At least that's been my experience. I obviously haven't taken a look at this figure yet, but let's just get right into it. So I think the first thing that you can kind of notice taking a look at this figure is that it's not a particularly big box, which means that we're probably not going to be getting too many accessories. The Mark II was cool because it had that G Defensor thing that connected to it. This Zeta Gundam does look like, this Double Z Gundam does look like it has some armor, but it doesn't look like there's, it looks like a fairly, bare bones-ish release. This figure came out December of 2020, and it retailed for about $130. It was a Bandai premium exclusive, which means that shops in Japan didn't sell it. You had to buy it directly from Bandai. It was available in the US. We don't get all the premium Bandai stuff. We did get this. Unfortunately, I did not get in on a premium Bandai pre-order, so I had to pay secondary market prices, so it cost me about $230 instead of $130. So get your pre-orders in when you're ordering premium Bandai stuff during their open order period. Right. Alright, so let's see what we got here. So first we could take a look at the figure. Wow, this is really, really nice. Like I said, maybe not as nice as a Metal Robot Spirits, but this is a really, really nice figure. I would probably say it's definitely on par with the Mark II, maybe even a drop nicer quality. I'll put it up here just to kind of get an idea. It's got a lot of little plastic things on them, which I'll take off, but again, you could see all the little markings on the arm. You could see, it's got the I think that's AE. So it's so tiny. The print is like amazing how tiny they make it. Yeah, the AEUG symbol. You could see kind of a lot of detail on the helmet, and just looking at it kind of all around. I think all these details just really add to it and just make it look like, for anyone who's seen some of the Gundam model kits, like the Gunpla, the people who are really skilled at kind of painting and detailing and do all this other stuff that makes them look so nice and not just sort of some, cheap plastic that you snap together. So this is sort of like the nice version of that for people who are not maybe as artistically inclined, like myself, or, just don't have the time or opportunity to do something like that. Again, I think this guy's gonna, similar to the Mark II, I feel like this is gonna have some trouble standing by itself. I'll get him up in a stand in a minute, and we could do the 360 view. A lot of cool weapons on this one. This is some sort of, beam rifle thing, which is cool. It's got these shields that I believe attach to sort of the forearms, and again, you could see it's got the same kind of styling on those, where it's got the print on the back. It looks really tiny. It's just as tiny for me. I honestly can't read it, but you do see the AEUG styling on that. And again, similar to the Mark II Gundam that we looked at, I love it when the accessories sort of have the markings that match the figure, and it doesn't make it look like, you have this really nice figure with these sort of like cheap generic accessories. It's like, no, these were accessories that were like explicitly designed for this figure. And then you got this like crazy jetpack thing here. Again, it's just these, it's really hard to explain how the plastic feels on these. It almost feels like a little chalky, which makes it sound not nice, but it's so rewarding to touch. It's like you want to like play around with these, and on the other hand, you don't want to touch them because you don't want to mess things up. Other than that, you kind of got the variety of different hands. I'm not going to take out every different hand. What's really cool is it's got these like crazy big beam sabers, which are awesome. One of the poses that I had seen with the figure that I'm planning to do is, kind of going like this, but you kind of get the perspective of it. Some part, the part in front of you looks bigger than the part in the back. So I think that that'd be a really cool pose to do with these beam sabers. And I typically don't seem to do a lot of beam saber poses for whatever reason. So looking forward to having something that looks a little bit different on my shelf. I got these like really big beam saber holsters. You have a slightly different Gundam crown. I'm sure there is a reason for this. I haven't seen Double Z Gundam in 4 or 5 years at this point, so I don't remember exactly when they may have changed the little crown there. And then there's just a few little accessories here. I'm not going to bother taking them out. They're just little doodads and nibs and knobs for attaching things. So yeah, I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to read the instructions, try to pose this guy, figure out what the heck's going on, and then I'll join you in a few more minutes. We'll compare it to maybe some of the other figures that we've looked at, do a 360 view, and have some final thoughts. See you in a few. And we are back. So I finished putting this guy in like a cool pose. It's a little delicate because I don't think I quite have the right stand. The instructions tells me what stand, but one of them is from like some metal robot figure that came out like a while ago, and the other one is something that I'm not familiar with, so maybe I'll look into getting some of those at some point. But as you can see, amazing figure. I have it here next to the Mark II and the RX-78, kind of show the evolution of some of the Gundams. We don't have a Zeta Gundam yet, but it's en route. Hopefully you take a look at that soon. As I kind of expected, this figure doesn't have a ton of accessories. It has the backpack that adds on. It's got the shields. It's got the gun. It's got the beam saber. Let's, hopefully this guy doesn't fall down when we do this. Spin him around. And I got this like nifty vinyl display logo for Double Zeta Gundam. I unfortunately don't have one for Zeta Gundam. Hold on, this guy's already fallen over. Okay. You could usually get those separately. They're about like $20. I've seen them for pretty much everything except for Zeta Gundam, and I've not seen the Char's Counterattack one for sale in the US yet, but hopefully that's just going to be a matter of time. Yeah, again, nothing super intricate or anything about putting these on. Just, kind of pick the pose you want. I had mentioned in the Mark II video that there is a MS Robot Girls kind of figure line. So apparently you can put this jetpack and maybe some of the weapon, just the jetpack onto that. I don't really know about that line. It's not quite my interest, but if that's important to you, that's cool. And I guess my final thoughts on this figure is that, this is the type of figure that you get into the line for. This is the type of figure that I look at a Gunpla model and I'll be like, I cannot create this. I just want a pre-built figure that's pre-painted, and this is that. After the Mark II and this, the version Ka is quickly becoming my favorite line. Maybe after I open up a few more Metal Robot Spirits, kind of be able to hash that out. And there actually are a few Metal Robot Spirits Ka signatures, including the Zeta Gundam that I just mentioned, so I'm really looking forward to that. I highly recommend this figure. $250 is pretty steep, not gonna lie, or $230. If you can get it closer to $130, I think it's an instant buy. $230, I still think it's worth it. It's just such a nice figure, and it just gives that premium feel. It could do lots of cool poses. I have only great things to say about it. And I would also highly recommend that you check out Double Z Gundam, especially if you're getting ready to do a full watch through of Universal Century and Unicorn Gundam. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. New videos come out every Wednesday. And please make sure to join me for next week, where we're going to be taking a look at the Power Rangers Legacy Thunder Megazord. Thanks so much, and keep collecting.